Boo Walker lives in Cape Elizabeth and is the author of more than a dozen books.
His latest is a murder mystery novel called The Secrets of Good People. The story of how the book came to be is a good one in itself, and we took Boo Walker slightly back in time so he could lay it all out for us. 2020. You're down in Florida, living in Florida, and you had just published a book, and there was a party for the book, and a woman came up to you afterwards. What did she say?
Bingo. So the book was actually called An Unfinished Story, and it was about a grieving widow who'd found an unfinished manuscript that her husband had left behind. And so this woman came up to me after the party and said, "You won't believe it, but I have an unfinished manuscript myself that my mother wrote." And she wrote it in 1970 and just passed away in 2013.
And did you say to yourself, "Oh, that's kind of nice, but you know, and I find it interesting, but nothing's going to happen here," or did you have a different kind of reaction?
I thought it was a fascinating coincidence, but of course, it wasn't my first thought to think, "Oh, well, I'll help you finish it," because I get approached with things like that occasionally.
So a couple of years went by, and she came back, sort of circled back to you in a serious professional way through an agent, right? And wanted you to look at her late mother's unfinished manuscript in a very serious way, correct?
Correct. Correct. 45,000 words. Most of my books are 120 to give you an idea. No outline, no sense of who did it. Just here, read this and please. And eventually I caved in. I have a little house on Peaks Island, and I said, I'm going to read a chapter and politely decline just to move on from this. It's been several years, and I sat down and burned through all 45,000 words without stopping. I was floored. It was kind of, I feel goosebumps right now. It was kind of magical.
The woman who had written this manuscript was Peggy Shaneberg. Tell me a little about her.
Sure. What really brought this thing together, she was a writer and journalist, and in 1948 she married the love of her life, who had just come back from World War II. And the way they got married is they won a contest on Bride and Groom Radio, which was one of the first reality shows. And this was 1948. And when I heard that story, I knew it was meant to be, because my grandparents were also married with Bride and Groom Radio in 1948. Kind of mesmerizing.
We think hokey reality shows are a new phenomenon, but this is fascinating because 1948, your grandparents and Peggy Shaneberg had both been married on this show called Bride and Groom.
Yes, exactly. And they fly you out to Hollywood. It's a big deal. It's not just a little thing. They fly you out to Hollywood. They give you this extraordinary dress. They invite celebrities. They treat you world class. And there's only a few that happen every year. So it just so happened that my grandparents and Peggy and her husband Norman were just right near each other.
All right, now you're definitely hooked. You're going to write The Secrets of Good People. You've got this unfinished manuscript, about 45,000 words, which 45,000 words, maybe a little less than half the length of what you would normally write for a novel. How hard was it for you to take what she had written and then turn it into a finished book?
I committed to 2 books last year because I thought it would be rather easy. And as I learned very quickly sitting down that though I was given this gem of a start, that the challenges were tremendous, figuring out what was in her head, figuring out how I could blend her writing with mine, which became an ultimate challenge. Because I didn't want people to read it and say, "Oh, right at this 45K mark, I can see Boo taking over and I recognize his writing." So I had to go back and kind of, tether out her stuff some and then extend it and figure out who did it and, create my own story out of it.
What, in a nutshell, is the story that you tell here?
This is an Agatha Christie-style murder mystery set in 1970 on a small island. And so there's 8 characters and somebody did it.
So again, just to connect the dots here for everyone, you had just finished a novel that involved an unfinished manuscript, and this woman came up to you and told you about an unfinished manuscript, which became this new book.
Bingo. And I had the title for years waiting for the right part, and I knew that was another piece that locked into place, The Secrets of Good People.
Writers always like it when good ideas fall from the heavens, because it doesn't happen all that frequently.
No, I wish it did.
But you could write another 50 books in your life and you'll never have an experience like this one, will you?
It changed my life for sure.
How so?
It was just such an extraordinary challenge, and it just reminded me of the magic of what's out there if you really, connect.
Again, the name of Boo Walker's new novel, written with Peggy Shaneberg, is The Secrets of Good People. More information about the book and the author in the 207 section of our News Center Maine app or website.
We will be right back.